He kissed a stranger to escape a forced marriage, but it changed his destiny forever. Nathan Blackwood stood before the gilded mirror in the Plaza Hotel's executive suite, adjusting his midnight blue tie for the 100th time. The silk fabric felt like a noose around his neck, tightening with each passing minute. Outside his door, 300 of New York's elite awaited the announcement that would seal his fate, his engagement to Clara Bennett, heiress to the Bennett energy empire. The merger, disguised as marriage, had been meticulously planned by both families over the past year. Every detail, from the press release to the wedding venue, had been arranged without his input. At 28, Nathan was about to become another pawn in his family's relentless pursuit of power and wealth. His fingers trembled as he reached for the crystal tumbler of scotch on the mahogany side table. The amber liquid swirled, catching the warm light from the crystal chandelier above. In the reflection of the glass, he saw not the confident heir to the Blackwood fortune, but a prisoner in a tailored Tom Ford suit. 10 minutes, Mr. Blackwood, his father's assistant called through the door. Nathan closed his eyes, memories of the morning's conversation with his father flooding back. "This isn't just about you, Nathan," Richard Blackwood had said, his voice carrying that familiar tone of disappointment. "The Bennett merger will secure thousands of jobs. Your grandfather built this empire from nothing. Are you really willing to throw away 3 generations of legacy because of your childish notions of romance?" The words had cut deep, as they always did. His father wielded guilt like a master swordsman, each strike precisely aimed at Nathan's weakest points. A knock at the door startled him from his thoughts. "It's time," the assistant announced. The grand ballroom of the plaza buzzed with anticipation. Crystal champagne flutes clinked, pearls gleamed, and camera flashes punctuated the evening air like lightning. Nathan descended the marble staircase, his steps mechanical, his smile perfectly practiced. Each face in the crowd wore the same expression, hungry anticipation for the social coup of the season. Through the sea of black ties and evening gowns, he spotted Clara Bennett standing with her parents. She wore a crimson dress that seemed to flow like liquid fire. Her platinum blonde hair swept into an elegant updo. Their eyes met across the room, and she smiled. The same calculating smile she'd worn when their fathers had first introduced them 6 months ago. Nathan's collar felt tighter than ever. The room began to spin slightly, the faces blurring together in a kaleidoscope of expectations and demands. He needed air, space, anything to escape the suffocating pressure of the moment. That's when he saw her. Standing near one of the service entrances was a woman who seemed as out of place as he felt. She wore a simple black uniform, clearly part of the event staff, but carried herself with an unmistakable dignity. Dark chocolate curls escaped from her neat bun, framing a face that spoke of quiet determination. She was beautiful, but not in the cultivated way of the socialites who surrounded him. Her beauty was raw, authentic, like a wild rose growing through concrete. Their eyes met for just a moment, but in that brief connection, Nathan saw something that resonated deeply within him, a kindred spirit trapped in circumstances beyond her control. Without conscious thought, his feet began moving in her direction. Jennifer Collins had been having a relatively normal evening until that moment. The catering company had called her in as extra help for this high society event, and the tips promised to be excellent. She'd spent the past 2 hours serving champagne to people whose watches cost more than her annual rent, all while trying to remain invisible, a skill she'd perfected over the years. She was replacing an empty tray when she felt his gaze. Looking up, she found herself locked in an intense stare with the man she recognized from the event brief as Nathan Blackwood, the guest of honor. Something in his eyes spoke of desperate rebellion, and for a moment she forgot about the social chasm between them. Neither of them could have predicted what happened next. Nathan reached her just as Richard Blackwood's voice boomed through the microphone, announcing the beginning of the evening's special presentation. In that moment, something inside Nathan snapped. 28 years of suppressed rebellion, of swallowed protests and compromised dreams, crystallized into a single, reckless action. He took Jennifer's face in his hands and kissed her. The gasp that swept through the ballroom was almost theatrical in its unanimity. Camera flashes erupted like a meteor shower. Jennifer froze, her mind struggling to process the surreal turn of events. Nathan's lips were warm against hers, desperate yet gentle, and despite her shock, she found herself responding to the raw emotion she felt in his touch. When he finally pulled away, his eyes were wild with a mixture of panic and determination. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, loud enough only for her to hear. Then, turning to face the stunned crowd, he raised his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the woman I love, my real fiancée." The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer's heart pounded in her ears as she stared at Nathan, her mind racing with questions and warnings. Across the room, Clara Bennett's champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, the sound like a starting pistol for the chaos that was about to unfold. In that moment, standing amid the shocked whispers and flashing cameras, Jennifer made a choice that would alter the course of her life forever. She slipped her hand into Nathan's, squeezed it once, and smiled for the cameras. The game had begun. The service corridor of the Plaza Hotel felt like another world compared to the opulent ballroom they'd just fled. Jennifer's sensible black shoes clicked against the utilitarian tile as Nathan pulled her through a maze of hallways, their footsteps echoing off stark white walls. The chaos they'd left behind felt distant now, like a dream dissolving in morning light. Nathan finally stopped at a small alcove near the emergency exit, his breath coming in short gasps. The perfectly styled hair from earlier now fell across his forehead, and his tie hung loose around his neck. He looked less like a billion-dollar heir, and more like a boy who'd just pulled the fire alarm at school. "I can explain," he started, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Jennifer held up her hand, cutting him off. "First, tell me if security is about to arrest me for assaulting New York's most eligible bachelor." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed down her uniform. A ghost of a smile crossed Nathan's face. "No one's getting arrested. I'm the one who kissed you, remember?" "Oh, I remember." Jennifer crossed her arms, her brown eyes fixing him with an intensity that made him step back slightly. "What I don't understand is why you just announced to 300 people and what looked like every society photographer in Manhattan that I'm your fiancé." Before Nathan could answer, his phone erupted with notifications. The screen lit up with messages from his father, Clara, the family lawyers, and dozens of others. He silenced it with shaking hands and shoved it back in his pocket. "I needed a way out," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "They were about to announce my engagement to Clara Bennett. A merger disguised as a marriage, orchestrated by our parents without anyone bothering to ask what I wanted." Jennifer's expression softened slightly, but her guard remained up. "So you decided to drag a complete stranger into your family drama?" "You weren't." Nathan paused, struggling to explain the connection he'd felt when their eyes met across the ballroom. "You looked as trapped as I felt. I know it sounds crazy, but in that moment, it felt like you were the only real person in that room full of masks." A bitter laugh escaped Jennifer's lips. "Trust me, you don't want me involved in your world. I'm a bartender working extra shifts to make rent. My last relationship—" She stopped abruptly, her hand unconsciously touching a thin scar near her collarbone, barely visible above her uniform. Nathan caught the gesture and the shadow that passed across her face. "And we can help each other," he said quickly. "I need time to unravel this arrangement with Clara, and you—" He hesitated, noting how she tensed at his scrutiny. "You look like someone who could use a few weeks of protection and security." Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "What exactly are you proposing?" "1 month, Nathan said, the plan forming as he spoke. "Play along as my fiancé for 1 month. I'll make it worth your while. Enough money to start fresh anywhere you want. You'll have the full protection of the Blackwood name, and I'll get time to break free from this arranged marriage properly." The overhead fluorescent lights buzzed in the silence that followed. Jennifer studied him, her mind racing through possibilities and dangers. The money could help her disappear, get far away from Victor and the memories that haunted her every night. But pretending to be engaged to one of New York's most prominent bachelors would put her directly in the spotlight, the last place she wanted to be. "Your family will investigate me," she said finally. "What happens when they discover I'm not exactly Plaza Hotel material?" Nathan stepped closer, his voice dropping to ensure they wouldn't be overheard. "Let me worry about my family. I can protect you, Jennifer. Whatever you're running from, and I can see you're running from something, I can help keep it at bay." The sound of her name on his lips startled her. "How did you—" "Your name tag," he said softly, pointing to the small badge on her uniform. Jennifer touched the badge absently, remembering the day she'd chosen this name, carefully crafting her new identity. The name on her original birth certificate was buried in a past she'd fought hard to escape. The distant sound of voices echoing down the corridor spurred her decision. "1 month," she said firmly, "and I have conditions." Relief flooded Nathan's features. "Anything. I keep my job and my apartment. I'm not moving into some Blackwood mansion or living under your family's thumb. And when this is over, you make sure I can disappear completely. New identity, new location, clean break." Nathan nodded, though something in his chest tightened at the thought of her disappearing. "Done. But we'll need to make this look convincing. The press will be watching our every move." "I know how to act a part," Jennifer said, a hint of sadness in her voice that made Nathan wonder just how much practice she'd had at reinventing herself. The voices were getting closer now. Nathan quickly pulled a business card from his wallet and pressed it into her hand. "My private number. We need to meet tomorrow to get our story straight before the media circus begins." Jennifer stared at the heavy cardstock, the embossed letters catching the harsh fluorescent light. This card represented everything she'd been avoiding: attention, scrutiny, complications. But it also represented something she desperately needed: protection. "Tomorrow," she agreed, tucking the card into her pocket. "Now go face your family before they send a search party. I'll slip out through the service entrance." Nathan caught her hand as she turned to leave. "Thank you," he said softly. "I know I'm asking a lot, but something tells me we might both find what we need in this chaos." Jennifer gave him a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just remember, Mr. Blackwood, everyone's wearing a mask, even me." With that, she disappeared down the corridor, leaving Nathan alone with the weight of what he'd just set in motion. His phone buzzed again, and this time he saw his father's name accompanied by a simple text: "My office, now." Taking a deep breath, Nathan straightened his tie and prepared to face the storm he'd created. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit staff locker room, Jennifer changed out of her uniform with trembling hands, her mind replaying the moment that had just changed everything. Neither of them noticed the figure who'd witnessed their entire conversation from the shadows, or the camera that had captured every word. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Nathan's penthouse office, casting long shadows across the polished mahogany conference table where Jennifer sat, surrounded by what felt like an army of image consultants. In the 12 hours since their impulsive performance at the Plaza, their engagement had exploded across every social media platform and news outlet in New York. "Your story needs to be airtight," Regina Walsh, the Blackwood family's longtime PR director, declared as she paced the room. Her Louboutin heels clicked against the hardwood floor with military precision. "Every detail will be scrutinized, every inconsistency exploited." Jennifer fought the urge to fidget with the sleeve of her simple black blazer, the nicest one she owned, yet still woefully inadequate in this setting. She'd spent the morning being analyzed, styled, and coached, feeling increasingly like a doll being dressed for display. "We met 6 months ago," she recited, her voice steady despite her nerves, "at the opening of the Whitney's new modern art exhibition. Nathan was there for the family foundation. I was helping coordinate the event's beverage service." "Which explains your current employment situation," Regina interjected, nodding approvingly. Continue. We kept our relationship private to avoid media attention and family pressure. Nathan proposed last week during a quiet dinner at home, but we weren't planning to announce it yet. Jennifer paused, remembering the script they'd carefully crafted. Last night's revelation wasn't planned, but the emotion of the moment overwhelmed us. Nathan watched from his position by the window, his tie loosened and his jacket discarded hours ago. The morning had been a blur of damage control meetings, starting with a brutal confrontation with his father. Richard Blackwood's fury had been cold and calculated, his threats of disinheritance delivered with surgical precision. The Bennett family is threatening to pull out of 3 joint ventures, Regina continued, consulting her tablet. Their PR team is already spinning narratives about Nathan's instability. She cast a sharp glance in his direction. We need to counter with a love story so compelling it makes their accusations look like bitter grapes. What about my background check? Jennifer asked quietly. The question she'd been dreading all morning finally escaped her lips. Regina's perfectly manicured fingers paused over her tablet. Our security team has begun the standard procedure. Is there something specific we should know about? No, Jennifer said quickly. Too quickly. She felt Nathan's eyes on her and forced herself to maintain a neutral expression. My life isn't exactly society page material, which is exactly why this could work in our favor, Regina declared, warming to a new angle. The wealthy heir who falls for the hard-working everyday woman. It's a narrative that humanizes the Blackwood brand. We'll need to polish some rough edges, of course. Starting with your wardrobe. As if on cue, a team of stylists wheeled in several racks of designer clothing. Jennifer's eyes widened at the labels. Chanel, Dior, Oscar de la Renta. Her yearly salary probably couldn't cover a single hanger's worth of these clothes. We have lunch reservations at Le Bernardin in 2 hours, Regina announced. Your first public appearance as a couple. The paparazzi have already been tipped off, so every gesture will be documented. Remember, you're madly in love, but trying to maintain dignity under the spotlight. Jennifer stood, allowing herself to be guided toward the impromptu dressing room they'd set up. As she passed Nathan, he caught her hand, pulling her close enough to whisper. I'm sorry about all this, he murmured. I should have warned you about Regina's thoroughness. Jennifer squeezed his hand, aware of the eyes watching their every interaction. Oh, your world is exactly as overwhelming as I expected, she whispered back, managing a small smile. But I made a deal, and I keep my promises. What she didn't say was how much she needed this arrangement to work. The morning news had carried a small item about a domestic disturbance in her old neighborhood in Boston. She recognized the address and the name of the man arrested. Victor was out again, and he was looking for her. The next hour passed in a whirlwind of fittings and styling. Jennifer emerged, transformed in a cream-colored Chanel dress that probably cost more than her car. Her dark curls had been expertly styled, her makeup subtle but flawless. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Now that's a Blackwood fiancé, Regina declared approvingly. The ride to Le Bernardin was tense with anticipation. Nathan sat close to Jennifer in the back of the town car, their fingers intertwined for practice. The warmth of his hand felt oddly comforting. There's something you should know, he said softly, his eyes on the passing cityscape. Clara will be there. Jennifer's head snapped toward him. Your ex-fiancé? The one from last night? She made the reservation herself. Apparently, she's lunching with some society friends and couldn't possibly change her plans. His tone made it clear exactly how coincidental this meeting was. She's dangerous, Jennifer. She won't cause a scene, but she'll be watching for any crack in our story. Then we won't give her one, Jennifer replied, her voice taking on a steel edge that surprised them both. She'd spent years perfecting the art of becoming whoever she needed to be to survive. This was just another role to play. The car pulled up to the restaurant, and immediately the air filled with camera flashes. Nathan stepped out first, then turned to offer his hand to Jennifer. As she emerged, the photographers erupted in a frenzy. Mr. Blackwood, over here. Miss Collins, how did you meet? Nathan, what about the Bennett merger? Jennifer felt Nathan's arms slip protectively around her waist, and she leaned into him naturally, letting a soft smile play across her lips. They moved together, as if they'd been doing this for months, their bodies in perfect synchronization. Inside the restaurant's elegant interior, Clara Bennett sat at a prime table, surrounded by what looked like a carefully curated group of socialites. Her blonde hair shimmered under the subtle lighting, her expression a masterpiece of polite interest. As they passed her table, Clara's voice cut through the quiet murmur of the restaurant. "Nathan, darling, what a lovely surprise." Her eyes fixed on Jennifer, sharp as cut diamonds. "And this must be your fiancé, the one from the bar staff, correct?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Jennifer felt Nathan tense beside her, but before he could respond, she stepped forward, extending her hand with practiced grace. "Jennifer Collins," she said warmly, as if she couldn't feel the daggers behind Clara's smile. "Nathan's told me so much about you. I absolutely love your charity work with underprivileged children. It must be so rewarding to help those less fortunate." Clara's perfectly painted lips parted slightly, caught off guard by Jennifer's poise. Around the table, several socialites poorly disguised their smirks behind napkins and water glasses. As they were led to their own table, Nathan leaned close to Jennifer's ear. "That was brilliant," he whispered, genuine admiration in his voice. Jennifer's smile remained fixed in place, even as her heart raced. "The game is on, Mr. Blackwood," she murmured back, "and I play to win." What she didn't say was that she had to win. Her life might depend on it. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Jennifer's small apartment in Brooklyn as she kicked off the designer heels that had been pinching her feet all day. After a week of playing the perfect society fiancé, her tiny walk-up felt like a refuge from the glittering chaos of Nathan's world. She'd insisted on keeping her apartment despite Regina's protests about its unsuitability for a future Blackwood. The space might be modest, but it was hers, paid for with honest work and carefully chosen to be secure. Double locks on reinforced doors, windows that didn't face the street, escape routes mapped out of habit. Her phone buzzed with another message from Nathan. "Dinner at my parents' estate tomorrow night. I'm so sorry. There's no way around it." Jennifer sank onto her worn couch, anxiety coiling in her stomach. She'd managed to avoid Richard and Catherine Blackwood since the engagement announcement, but their patience had evidently run out. Their weekly family dinner had become a command performance. A knock at her door made her freeze. She wasn't expecting anyone, and Nathan always texted before coming over. Moving silently to the security panel she'd installed, she checked the camera feed. Relief flooded through her at the sight of her neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, holding what looked like a newspaper. Jennifer opened the door, keeping the chain on. "You're in the society pages again, mijita," Mrs. Rodriguez said, holding up the New York Times style section, looking like a real princess at that charity gala. Jennifer accepted the paper with a tight smile. The photo showed her and Nathan at the Metropolitan Museum's annual fundraiser 2 nights ago. She wore a midnight blue Oscar de la Renta gown that had made her feel like she was wearing starlight. Nathan's arm was around her waist, and they were both laughing at something off-camera. They looked real. "Such a handsome couple," Mrs. Rodriguez continued, her eyes twinkling. "But be careful, sweet girl. I've seen how some men change once they have you where they want you." Jennifer's hand unconsciously moved to her collarbone, to the scar hidden beneath her shirt. "Nathan's not like that," she said softly, surprising herself with how much she meant it. After saying goodbye to Mrs. Rodriguez, Jennifer spread the paper on her small kitchen counter. Below the gala photo was a smaller one, showing her leaving work at the Grove, the upscale bar where she still insisted on keeping her shifts. The caption read, "Future Mrs. Blackwood maintains normal life despite engagement." Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Nathan, unknown number. Nice act you're putting on, Maddie, but we both know who you really are. The room seemed to tilt sideways. No one had called her Maddie in 3 years. No one except another message appeared. Unknown number. You can't hide behind your billionaire forever. We need to talk about what you took from me. Jennifer's hands shook as she blocked the number, knowing it was futile. Victor would find another way to reach her. He always did. The sound of a key in her door made her jump, but it was only Nathan. They'd exchanged keys for appearances' sake, though he rarely used his. One look at her face, and he crossed the room in 3 quick strides. "What's wrong?" he asked, his hands settling on her shoulders. Jennifer forced a smile. "Just tired. These society events of yours are exhausting." Nathan didn't look convinced, but he didn't press. Instead, he held up a paper bag that smelled of garlic and tomatoes. "I brought reinforcements. That Italian place you mentioned. I thought we could practice for tomorrow night's interrogation over real food, instead of whatever 7-course torture my mother has planned." The normality of the gesture, bringing takeout, caring about her comfort, made Jennifer's throat tight. This past week had been a dance of public appearances and private preparations, but somewhere along the way, Nathan had started to feel less like a business partner and more like... She pushed the thought away. "You're stress-eating marinara sauce because you're worried about tomorrow too, aren't you?" "Terrified," he admitted, pulling containers from the bag. "My mother's going to ask about wedding plans, your family background, probably demand grandchildren's names. I won't have to fake the deer-in-headlights look, at least." Jennifer reached for plates from her cabinet, trying to ignore how natural this felt. What should I know before walking into the lion's den?" Nathan leaned against her tiny counter, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up. "My father will try to intimidate you with subtle references to his influence. Mother will alternate between saccharine sweetness and razor-sharp observations about your potential. Just remember, you don't actually need their approval, just their belief in our story." Jennifer started dishing out pasta, focusing on the task to hide her expression. "Speaking of which, have Regina's people finished my background check?" "Still processing," Nathan said carefully. "Why?" Jennifer kept her eyes on the food. "Or just wondering how long until they find something that ruins everything." Nathan's hand covered hers, stilling her nervous movement. "Hey, look at me." When she did, his eyes were serious. "Whatever they find, we'll handle it. I promise to protect you, remember?" The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. If he knew the truth about Victor, about what she'd done, about who she really was, he wouldn't be looking at her like that. A car backfired on the street below, making Jennifer start violently. The fork she'd been holding clattered to the floor. Nathan's expression shifted from concern to something deeper. "You're not just tired, are you? What's really going on?" Before Jennifer could answer, both their phones chimed with notifications. Nathan checked his first, his face darkening. "Clara's giving an exclusive interview to the Post tomorrow," he said grimly. "And apparently she has shocking revelations about our relationship." Jennifer's own phone screen still showed Victor's blocked messages, threats on both sides, closing in like storm clouds. "We knew she'd try something like this," she said, working to keep her voice steady. "Regina prepared us for—" "This feels different," Nathan interrupted. "Clara was too calm at the restaurant last week. She's been planning something." Jennifer met his worried gaze. "Then we'll face it together," she said firmly, even as Victor's messages burned in her mind. "That's the deal, right?" Nathan looked at her for a long moment, and she could see him wrestling with something unsaid. Finally, he nodded. Together. They ate dinner at her small table, reviewing their practice stories and planning strategies for tomorrow's family dinner. But beneath their careful preparations, undercurrents of unspoken truths swirled like dangerous waters. Later, after Nathan left, Jennifer stood at her window watching his car pull away. Her phone lay silent now, but Victor's words echoed in her head. She touched the scar on her collarbone, remembering the night she'd become Jennifer Collins. The charity gala photo caught her eye again. She looked happy, secure, loved, everything she'd dreamed of being. Everything she knew she couldn't keep. The Blackwood estate loomed against the darkening sky, its Georgian architecture a monument to old money and carefully curated power. Jennifer sat beside Nathan in the back of his Range Rover, watching the iron gates swing open to admit them. The gravel driveway crunched beneath the tires, each turn bringing them closer to what felt like an execution. "Remember," Nathan said softly, "my mother will be seated to your left. She'll try to guide the conversation to my family background through seemingly casual questions about holiday traditions," Jennifer finished. They'd rehearsed this dozens of times. "Meanwhile, your father will observe from the head of the table, letting others do the interrogation until he finds a weakness." Nathan reached for her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. The gesture had become familiar over the past week, a subtle comfort they both needed. "We can still turn around." Jennifer squared her shoulders, adjusting the emerald silk dress Regina had chosen for the evening. "No, we can't." The front door opened before they reached it, spilling warm light onto the marble steps. Catherine Blackwood stood in the doorway, elegant in a tailored Chanel suit, despite the informal nature of a family dinner. "Darling," she greeted Nathan with air kisses, then turned to Jennifer with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "And Jennifer, how lovely to finally have you join us. We have so much to discuss." The foyer opened into a grand hall that made Jennifer think of European palaces. Family portraits lined the walls, generations of Blackwoods staring down with identical expressions of careful superiority. Nathan's father waited in the drawing room, nursing what looked like very expensive scotch. "Son," Richard Blackwood said, not rising from his leather armchair, his steel-grey eyes fixed on Jennifer. "Miss Collins, I trust the drive from Brooklyn wasn't too taxing." The subtle emphasis on Brooklyn made Nathan's hand tighten around Jennifer's waist. But before either could respond, the butler appeared to announce dinner. The dining room could have seated 30, but the table was set intimately for 4. Crystals sparkled under the chandelier's light, and Jennifer counted more pieces of silverware than she'd seen in some restaurant kitchens. "I hope you enjoyed duck, Jennifer," Catherine said as they were seated. "It's a family favorite." "Actually," Nathan cut in, "Jennifer's allergic to duck. I should have mentioned—" "Oh, that won't do at all." Catherine's smile remained fixed as she signaled the staff. "Bernard, please have the kitchen prepare something suitable for Miss Collins. Perhaps something more familiar." Jennifer felt the intended sting, but kept her expression pleasant. "A duck would be lovely, Mrs. Blackwood. Nathan's mistaken. I had it just last week at Le Bernardin." She saw approval flicker in Richard's eyes at the restaurant name, even as Nathan shot her a questioning look. It was the first of many small lies they'd need tonight. "Speaking of Le Bernardin," Catherine began, delicately cutting into her appetizer, "I heard you had quite the encounter with Clara Bennett there. Poor dear was quite upset, was she?" Jennifer took a sip of wine. "She seemed perfectly composed to me, though I suppose finding out your arranged marriage has fallen through might be upsetting." The crystal glasses seemed to ring in the sudden silence. "Direct, isn't she?" Richard commented to Nathan, his tone unreadable. "It's one of the things I love about her," Nathan replied firmly. Catherine dabbed her lips with her napkin. "And when exactly did this love begin? The timeline seems rather convenient." "Mother," Nathan started, but Jennifer touched his arm. "It began with a chance meeting at the Whitney," she said, her voice steady. "But love rarely keeps to convenient timelines, doesn't it? Sometimes it surprises you, changes everything you thought you knew about yourself and what you want from life." She felt Nathan's gaze on her face and realized she'd stopped playing a part. The words had felt too real, too close to the truth she'd been avoiding. Richard leaned forward slightly. "And what exactly do you want from life, Miss Collins? Or should I say Miss Madison Hayes?" Jennifer's wineglass froze halfway to her lips. Beside her, Nathan went very still. "Our background check was quite thorough," Richard continued, "though I must admit, tracking your movements before you arrived in New York proved challenging. Almost as if you'd been trying to disappear." "Dad, stop!" Nathan began, but Richard held up a hand. "The question isn't why you changed your name, my dear. The question is what you're running from. Or rather, who? Jennifer's hands had gone cold, but her voice remained steady. We all have pasts we'd rather leave behind, Mr. Blackwood. I'm sure your investigators also discovered that I've worked honestly at every job I've held, paid my taxes, and never had so much as a parking ticket under any name. Until 3 years ago, you didn't exist at all, Catherine interjected. Rather impressive, really. Professional help. Everything you need to know about me is in the present, Jennifer said firmly. I love your son. I'm not after your money or your social position. And I'm not going anywhere. The last part was meant for Nathan, who had gone pale beside her. His hand found hers under the table, squeezing once. Bold statements, Richard said, from someone who received 3 blocked calls today from a Boston number registered to a Victor Kane, recently released from prison, I believe. The name hit Jennifer like a physical blow. Nathan felt her fingers turn to ice in his grip. If there are threats to this family, Richard continued, I need to know, whatever game you're playing with my son. That's enough. Nathan's voice cut through the room like a blade. He stood, pulling Jennifer up with him. You've made your point, Dad. You can destroy anyone who threatens your precious legacy. Message received. But Jennifer isn't a threat. She's the woman I love. And if you ever try to intimidate her again, you'll find out just how much of your ruthlessness I've inherited. The silence that followed was absolute. Catherine's perfect composure cracked slightly. Richard's expression wavered between anger and something that might have been respect. Nathan, Jennifer whispered, but he was already guiding her toward the door. Mom, Dad, he said calmly, thank you for dinner. Send our apologies to the chef. Jennifer's apartment is a bit far, so she'll be staying at my place tonight. We'll discuss wedding plans another time. The night air hit Jennifer's face like a splash of cold water as they emerged from the house. Nathan's arm was still around her waist, solid and sure, as he led her to the car. Only when they were safely inside did she realize she was shaking. Madison, Nathan asked quietly. Jennifer stared straight ahead at the darkened driveway. Well, Madison Hayes died 3 years ago in Boston. She had to. Her voice caught. Nathan, Not here, he interrupted, starting the engine. My place is secure. Whatever you need to tell me, whatever's happening with this Victor person, we'll figure it out together. Jennifer closed her eyes, feeling the walls she'd built so carefully beginning to crumble. I don't want you involved in this. It's too dangerous. Nathan pulled onto the main road, his expression set. I'm already involved, and I meant what I said in there. I'm not letting anyone threaten you. Not my parents, not Clara, and certainly not some ex-con from Boston. The use of present tense, I love, not I loved, wasn't lost on Jennifer. Neither was the protective fury in his voice when he'd confronted his father. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to feel this way. Their arrangement had been clear, 1 month of pretense, then a clean break. But as the city lights blurred past her window, Jennifer realized there was nothing clean about what was breaking inside her heart. Nathan's penthouse felt like a fortress high above Manhattan, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a glittering panorama of city lights. Jennifer stood before them, arms wrapped around herself, while Nathan poured 2 generous glasses of scotch at the bar behind her. The silence between them felt heavy with unspoken truths. Here, he said softly, offering her one of the glasses. You look like you need this. Jennifer accepted the drink but didn't turn from the windows. Your father's investigators, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. How much did they find? Everything they could piece together. Nathan moved to stand beside her, close but not touching, which wasn't much before 3 years ago. It's like you said, Madison Hayes disappeared. She had to. Jennifer took a long sip of scotch, letting the warm burn steady her nerves. The real question is whether she needs to disappear again. No. Nathan's voice was firm. Whatever you're running from, whatever happened in Boston, we can handle it. But I need to know the truth, Jennifer. All of it. She closed her eyes. Memories she'd locked away for years flooding back. I met Victor Kane when I was 23. He was charming, successful, everything a young paralegal dreams of finding. His law firm handled major criminal cases, and he made partner younger than anyone in Boston's history. Nathan watched her reflection in the window, noting how her fingers unconsciously traced the scar on her collarbone. The first year was like a fairy tale. Expensive gifts, romantic trips, promises of a future together. Jennifer's voice turned bitter. I didn't realize he was grooming me, testing my loyalty, my willingness to keep secrets. It started small, asking me to file documents incorrectly, lose certain papers. Then bigger things, evidence that would have convicted his clients, witness statements that needed to disappear. She turned to face Nathan, her eyes haunted, and I wanted to believe he was just zealously defending his clients. But then I found the offshore accounts, the connections to organized crime. Victor wasn't just defending criminals, he was their consigliere, their fixer, and I had become his unwitting accomplice. What happened? Nathan asked quietly. Jennifer's hand shook slightly as she set down her glass. I tried to leave. That's when I learned what Victor was really capable of. He made it clear that I knew too much, that I belonged to him now. Her voice caught. The night I got this scar, I realized he would either kill me or force me to help him destroy more lives. Nathan's fists clenched, but he remained silent, letting her continue. So I gathered evidence, everything I could find about his criminal enterprises, his clients, the money laundering. I anonymously sent copies to the FBI, the DA's office, and 3 major newspapers. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Victor was arrogant. He never thought his sweet, obedient girlfriend would be capable of bringing down his entire operation. The investigation that followed, Nathan said slowly, pieces clicking into place. That's why you had to disappear. Jennifer nodded. Victor had connections everywhere. Corrupt cops, judges, politicians. Even in witness protection, I wouldn't have been safe. So Madison Hayes died in a car accident off the coast of Maine. Dental records, DNA samples, everything falsified by people who owed me favors for helping expose the corruption. Jennifer Collins emerged in New York with a clean background and a simple life. Until now. Nathan moved closer, finally allowing himself to touch her shoulder. He's out of prison. Released last week on a technicality. Jennifer's laugh was hollow. Apparently, some key evidence was mishandled, the kind of legal manipulation that only serious money can buy. And he knows you're alive. The engagement announcement was everywhere. I look different now, new hair, new style, but Victor, she shuddered. He always said he'd know me anywhere. Nathan's hand slid down her arm to capture her fingers. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because this wasn't supposed to be real. Jennifer finally met his eyes. You needed a fake fiancé for a month. I needed protection and money to disappear again. It was supposed to be simple. But now I'm putting you in danger. Victor doesn't just want revenge for the prison time. He wants the evidence I still have hidden. Proof of crimes that never came to light. Names of people who were never exposed. As long as I have it, I'm a threat to very powerful people. Nathan's other hand came up to cup her cheek, turning her face fully to his. Listen to me. You're not going anywhere. The Blackwood name might not impress Victor, but our security resources will. We can protect you. You don't understand, Jennifer whispered, even as she leaned into his touch. Clara's interview comes out tomorrow. Your family's empire is already at risk because of me. If Victor's corruption comes to light, if anyone connects you to my past, let them. Nathan's voice was fierce. My father's plans, Clara's schemes, none of that matters. What matters is that somewhere between that crazy kiss at the plaza and right now, this stopped being pretend for me. Jennifer's breath caught. Nathan. A sharp crack echoed through the penthouse. Jennifer reacted instinctively, pushing Nathan down as something whizzed past where his head had been. The window behind them spiderwebbed but didn't shatter. Bulletproof glass, doing its job. Security alarms blared as Nathan pulled Jennifer behind the solid wall of his private bar. His phone was already in his hand, barking orders to his security team. Jennifer's whole body trembled, but her voice was steady when she spoke. Still want to protect me? Nathan pulled her closer, his heart pounding against her back. More than ever. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Jennifer could hear Nathan's security team sweeping the building, coordinating with NYPD. But all she could focus on was the warmth of Nathan's arms around her and the terrifying realization that she couldn't bear the thought of leaving him. "I won't let him hurt you," Nathan murmured into her hair. "Either of us." Jennifer closed her eyes, knowing that tomorrow would bring Clara's revelations, more threats from Victor, and countless other challenges. But for now, in the safety of Nathan's embrace, she allowed herself to believe that love might be stronger than fear. She just prayed that belief wouldn't get them both killed. The New York Post's headline screamed across Nathan's tablet, "Blackwood engagement, a sham. Exclusive interview reveals dark secrets." Clara's perfectly composed face dominated the page, her expression a masterpiece of concerned sympathy. "Well," Jennifer said from her position on Nathan's couch, wrapped in one of his dress shirts and clutching coffee like a lifeline, she certainly didn't hold back. The morning sun filtered through the newly replaced bulletproof glass of the penthouse windows. After last night's shooting attempt, Nathan's security team had worked through the night, upgrading systems and sweeping for surveillance devices. They'd found 3. Nathan paced the living room, his tie loosened and hair disheveled from running his hands through it. "She's claiming we orchestrated the whole thing to humiliate her family. That you're a professional girlfriend I hired to help me escape the merger." "Technically, she's not entirely wrong about the hired part," Jennifer pointed out, though her attempt at humor fell flat. "And she also implies you've done this before, seduced wealthy men for money and disappeared." Nathan's jaw clenched. "The tabloids are already digging into your past. It won't take them long to find the gaps." Jennifer set down her coffee, her hands trembling slightly. "Victor's going to love this. Nothing like a media circus to flush out his prey." Nathan's phone buzzed. Regina calling for the 5th time that morning. He ignored it. "We need a plan," he said, finally stopping his pacing to sit beside Jennifer. "Not just for the press or my family, but for everything. Victor, the evidence you have, all of it." Jennifer turned to face him, tucking her legs underneath her. The morning light caught the bruise forming on her shoulder from when she tackled him last night. "I have a plan. You're not going to like it. If it involves you disappearing again, you're right. I hate it already. The evidence is in a safety deposit box in Boston," Jennifer continued, ignoring his interruption. "Documentation of everything, the corruption, the money laundering, names of judges and politicians in Victor's pocket. If I can get to it, turn it over to the FBI." "You mean if we can get to it," Nathan corrected. "Nathan, you can't." "Can't what? Can't risk my reputation? Clara's interview already took care of that. Can't put my family's business interests at risk. Pretty sure my father's writing me off as we speak." He took her hands in his. "Can't fall in love with you, because that ship has definitely sailed." Jennifer's breath caught. Before she could respond, both their phones chimed with breaking news alerts. Nathan checked his first, his expression darkening. They found the shooter from last night, dead in an abandoned warehouse in Queens. "Victor's cleaning house," Jennifer said quietly, making sure there's no trail back to him. Another chime, this time from Jennifer's phone. The message made her blood run cold. "Unknown number. Such a shame about your engagement scandal. Guess you'll need somewhere to run. I know a place in Boston." Nathan read the message over her shoulder, his arm tightening around her. "He's trying to draw you back to Boston." "Why?" "Because that's where the evidence is," Jennifer realized. "He must have figured out I wouldn't keep it in New York. He's probably had people watching every bank in Boston, waiting for me to show up. Then we don't give him what he expects." Nathan stood, decision made. "Regina's been calling because there's a charity gala tonight at the Met. Every society photographer and reporter in the city will be there." Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "Ah, and you want to walk straight into that lion's den?" I want to show Clara and my parents and everyone else that we're not hiding. Meanwhile, my security team can quietly get us to Boston tomorrow, while Victor's people are focused on New York. Us? Jennifer stood too, crossing her arms. Nathan, you're talking about walking away from everything. Your family, your position, your entire life. No, he said softly, stepping closer. I'm talking about finally living it. Before Jennifer could argue further, Nathan's private elevator chimed. The doors opened to reveal Regina, looking more frazzled than Jennifer had thought possible. Thank God, Regina exclaimed, striding into the penthouse with a garment bag over her arm. Do either of you know how many fires I'm trying to put out? The Bennett family is threatening a lawsuit. Clara's interview is trending nationwide, and there's some Boston reporter asking questions about a decade-old corruption case. She paused, finally noticing Jennifer in Nathan's shirt. Well, at least the chemistry reads as authentic. Regina, Nathan started, but she held up a hand. Save it. I don't want to know if Clara's claims are true. What I need is for you two to show up at the Met tonight, looking desperately in love and completely unbothered by scandal. She unzipped the garment bag, revealing a stunning red gown. Jennifer, this is Valentino. It's going to make every society matron who snubbed you choke on their champagne. Jennifer touched the silk fabric hesitantly. Regina, about the background check. You mean about Madison Hayes? Regina's expression softened slightly. Honey, I've been handling Blackwood family PR for 20 years. You think you're the first person who needed a fresh start? Now, go get dressed. Hair and makeup will be here in an hour. After Regina left to manage expectations with the press, Jennifer turned to Nathan. She knows. She suspects, he corrected, and she's choosing to help us anyway. He pulled Jennifer close, pressing his forehead to hers. And still want to face this alone? Jennifer closed her eyes, breathing in his presence. I've been alone for so long, she whispered. I'm not sure I know how to be anything else. Then let me teach you. Nathan's lips brushed her temple. Starting tonight, we'll give them such a show of unity that Clara's interview will look like petty jealousy. Then tomorrow we walk into a trap in Boston, Jennifer finished. You know that's what it will be, right? Even if we get to the evidence, Victor will be waiting. Probably, Nathan agreed, but he's expecting a scared woman running back to familiar ground. Instead, he'll get us with resources, backup, and nothing left to lose. Jennifer pulled back slightly to study his face. When did you become so willing to risk everything? Nathan's smile was gentle but determined. The moment I saw you across that ballroom. I just didn't know it then. Another news alert chimed on their phones. More speculation about their relationship. More questions about Jennifer's past. Outside, paparazzi had begun gathering in the street below. But for just that moment, in the safety of Nathan's arms, Jennifer allowed herself to believe that love might be worth more than survival. That tomorrow's danger could wait. That maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone anymore. The Metropolitan Museum of Art blazed with light against the darkening Manhattan sky. Jennifer stood at the top of the iconic steps, the Valentino gown flowing around her like liquid fire. Camera flashes exploded as Nathan helped her from the car, his hand warm and steady against her back. "Ready?" he murmured, his lips barely moving as they posed for photographers. Jennifer squeezed his arm in response, her smile practiced and serene despite the hurricane in her chest. The dress Regina had chosen was a masterpiece of defiance, bold, unapologetic red, with a dramatic back that revealed the scar on her collarbone. No more hiding. Mr. Blackwood, how do you respond to Clara Bennett's allegations? Jennifer, is it true you're a paid actress? Nathan, what does your family think of the scandal? They moved through the barrage of questions with practiced grace, pausing only once for Nathan to make a statement Regina had carefully crafted. My relationship with Jennifer is the most genuine thing in my life. Anyone suggesting otherwise might want to question their own motivations. Inside the museum's great hall, The annual Children's Health Initiative Gala was in full swing. New York's elite moved through the space like exotic birds, their jewelry catching the light from crystal chandeliers. Jennifer felt the weight of their stares, heard the whispers trailing in their wake. "Well," a familiar voice cut through the murmur, "you certainly know how to make an entrance." They turned to find Clara Bennett, resplendent in midnight blue Dior, her smile sharp as a knife's edge. Two society reporters hovered nearby, pretending not to eavesdrop. "Clara," Nathan's voice was cool but polite. "Interesting interview this morning. Creative fiction was always your strong suit." "Fiction?" Clara's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Do we both know everything I said was true? Well, almost everything." She turned to Jennifer, her eyes glittering. "I may have underestimated just how dangerous you really are, Madison." Jennifer felt Nathan tense beside her, but she kept her voice light. "The only dangerous thing here is that vintage Dior you're wearing. 1997, right? Bold choice to recycle fashion at an event like this." Clara's perfect composure cracked slightly. Before she could respond, Richard and Catherine Blackwood appeared beside them, creating a tableau that sent the photographers into a frenzy. "Mother, father," Nathan nodded curtly. "I didn't expect to see you here after last night." "We're nothing if not dedicated to maintaining appearances," Catherine said smoothly. Her eyes landed on Jennifer's exposed scar. "Though some of us might need lessons in that department." Jennifer lifted her chin. "Actually, Mrs. Blackwood, I thought it was time to stop maintaining appearances altogether. It's quite liberating. You should try it sometime." Richard's eyebrows rose slightly, something like reluctant admiration crossing his face. "Bold words from someone whose past is unraveling by the hour. Our investigators found some interesting connections in Boston." "Did they?" Jennifer took a champagne flute from a passing waiter. "I'm sure Victor Caney appreciates their help in doing his legwork." The name landed like a bomb in their little circle. Richard's expression sharpened. "You know about Kane?" "I know a lot of things, Mr. Blackwood, about corruption, money laundering, compromised judges." Jennifer sipped her champagne. "The kind of things that make business mergers complicated." Understanding dawned in Richard's eyes. Before he could respond, the orchestra began playing, and Nathan smoothly guided Jennifer toward the dance floor. "That was either brilliant or suicidal," he murmured as they moved into a waltz. "Maybe both." Jennifer relaxed into his lead, grateful for Regina's crash course in ballroom dancing. "Your father's smart. He'll figure out that protecting me means protecting his own interests." Nathan spun her under the soaring museum ceiling, both of them aware of the hundreds of eyes watching their every move. "You're betting a lot on that assumption." "I'm betting everything on you," Jennifer corrected softly. The truth of the words surprised her. "Tomorrow in Boston." "Don't." Nathan pulled her closer than was strictly proper for a waltz. "Well, tonight is about showing them we can't be intimidated. Tomorrow will take care of itself." Across the room, Jennifer caught Clara in intense conversation with a man she didn't recognize. Something about his stance sent warning signals through her mind. Nathan followed her gaze. "One of Victor's people. Probably. He's letting me know I'm being watched." Jennifer forced herself to look away. "The question is, did he follow us here, or does Clara have direct contact with Victor?" Nathan finished, "making her more dangerous than we thought." They danced in thoughtful silence for a moment, both processing the implications. Finally, Jennifer spoke. "Nathan, if anything happens to me in Boston, nothing is going to happen to you." His voice was fierce. "Listen to me," she insisted quietly. "And if something goes wrong, there's a letter in my apartment, behind the loose brick in the fireplace. It explains everything, about Victor, the evidence, all of it. Promise me you'll find it." Nathan's arms tightened around her. "I promise. But only if you promise me something in return." "What?" "Promise me this isn't goodbye. Promise me you're not planning to sacrifice yourself to protect me tomorrow." Jennifer looked up into his eyes, seeing the fear and determination there. "I promise to try to come back to you," she said carefully. "Not good enough." Nathan's hand slid up her back, fingers brushing the scar he now knew the story behind. Promise me we face whatever comes together. No noble sacrifices, no lone wolf heroics. Together or not at all. Before Jennifer could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew their attention. Police officers were quietly but firmly making their way through the crowd. Richard Blackwood appeared at Nathan's elbow. "Time to go," he said tersely. "They found another body, someone connected to the shooting at your penthouse." "Where?" Nathan asked, already guiding Jennifer toward a side exit. "The private banking district in Boston." Richard's expression was grim. "Victor Caney is sending a message. Whatever you two are planning, be careful." Jennifer felt Nathan's hand slip into hers as they moved through the museum's back corridors, Regina and security falling into step around them. "Together," she whispered, finally answering his demand from earlier. Nathan squeezed her hand. Together. Behind them, the gala continued its glittering dance, oblivious to the storm gathering in Boston. Tomorrow would bring either victory or destruction. Tonight, they had each other. For now, it would have to be enough. Dawn painted the Boston skyline in shades of gray as their private jet touched down at Logan International Airport. Jennifer watched the familiar city materialize through the morning mist, her heart pounding against her ribs. Somewhere in those streets, Victor was waiting. "Security teams in position," Nathan said quietly, reviewing updates on his phone. "They've been here since midnight, setting up surveillance around the financial district. No sign of Victor or his people yet." Jennifer smoothed her hands over the casual outfit Regina had selected. Designer jeans, leather jacket, and boots that looked fashionable but were chosen for their ability to run in. "He'll be watching the banks." "All of them. That's what we're counting on." Nathan tucked his phone away and took her hand. "Dad's contacts at the Boston PD are ready. The moment Victor makes a move. Your father's help still feels too convenient," Jennifer said, voicing the concern that had nagged at her all night. 24 hours ago, he was threatening to expose me. He's protecting his interests." Nathan's thumb traced circles on her palm. "The evidence you have doesn't just implicate Victor. If any of those corrupt judges or politicians handled Blackwood business dealings, then helping me is damage control." Jennifer managed a wry smile. "At least Regina's happy. Nothing unites a family like a common enemy." They deplaned onto the private tarmac where two unmarked SUVs waited. The morning news played silently on Jennifer's phone. More speculation about their relationship, footage from last night's gala, and breaking updates about the body found in the banking district. A warning wrapped in headlines. The drive into the city felt surreal. Streets Jennifer had once walked daily slipped past the bulletproof windows, each familiar landmark carrying memories she'd tried to bury. "There," she said suddenly, pointing to an elegant stone building. "Boston Trust and Savings. The evidence is in box 2317. Nathan squeezed her hand. "Our team swept the building's security feeds. Victor's people have been watching it for days. They'll know the moment we walk in." "Good." Jennifer's voice was steady despite her racing pulse. "Let them think they've caught us being predictable." The SUVs split up, one heading toward the bank while theirs turned toward the waterfront. Jennifer felt Victor's net closing around them with each passing block. Nathan's phone chimed with an incoming message. His expression darkened as he read it. "What is it?" Jennifer asked. "Clara's in Boston. She was spotted at Logan an hour ago." "Of course she is." Jennifer's laugh held no humor. "She's Victor's insurance policy. If everything else fails, he can use her connection to your family to destroy the Blackwood name." They pulled into an underground garage beneath a luxury waterfront hotel. Nathan's security team had swept and secured the entire floor, but Jennifer still felt exposed as they made their way to their suite. The room offered a panoramic view of Boston Harbor, sunlight now breaking through the morning haze. Jennifer stood at the window, remembering another morning 3 years ago when she'd watched a different sunrise and decided Madison Hayes needed to die. "Having second thoughts?" Nathan asked softly, coming to stand behind her. "About facing Victor?" "Every second." She leaned back against him, drawing strength from his solid presence. "About being here with you, None. Nathan's arms slipped around her waist. Good. Because there's something I need to tell you before... A sharp knock at the door cut him off. One of his security team entered, expression grave. Sir, we've got movement at the bank. Victor Kane himself just walked in through the front door. Jennifer straightened. He's not even trying to hide. It gets worse, the security officer continued. He's with Miss Bennett. They're asking about safety deposit box access procedures. Nathan's arms tightened around Jennifer. He's forcing our hand, making sure we have to confront him directly. No, Jennifer said slowly, pieces clicking into place. He's making sure you have to be there. She turned in Nathan's embrace to face him. Think about it. Clara's presence guarantees you'll come yourself instead of sending security. Victor knows the evidence threatens your family as much as his operations. So he gets us both with one move. Nathan's jaw clenched. What's our play? Jennifer stepped back, squaring her shoulders. We give him what he expects, a desperate woman and the man foolish enough to help her. She managed a grim smile, with one small twist. The evidence isn't in box 2317, is it? Oh, it is. Along with something else Victor doesn't know about. Jennifer pulled out her phone, fingers flying over the keys. Remember when I said professional help got Madison Hayes declared dead? That help came from someone Victor trusted. Someone he ruined, just like he tried to ruin me. Understanding dawned in Nathan's eyes. You have an inside source. Had. Victor killed him last year in prison, but not before he gave me everything I needed to... Jennifer's voice trailed off as her phone chimed with an incoming message. The color drained from her face. Nathan moved to her side instantly. What is it? She held up the phone, showing him a photo that had just been sent from an unknown number. It showed the inside of her Brooklyn apartment, specifically the fireplace with its loose brick pulled away. The hiding place was empty. Another message appeared beneath the photo. Looking for something. Let's make a trade. The real evidence for Loverboy's life. 1 hour. Come alone or Nathan dies just like David did in prison. David, Nathan said quietly. Your inside source? Jennifer's hands shook as she lowered the phone. My brother? The revelation hung in the air between them. Outside, Boston continued its morning rhythm, oblivious to the deadly game playing out in its streets. Jennifer, Nathan started, but she cut him off. Don't tell me not to face him alone. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. Victor killed my brother because I asked for his help. I won't let the same thing happen to you. That wasn't a request, Nathan said firmly. We agreed, together or not at all. And if I lose you too... The words burst from her like a dam breaking. Victor won't stop. He'll kill you, destroy your family, burn down everything you love, just like he did to me. I can't. Nathan caught her face between his hands, cutting off her protests with a kiss that tasted of desperation and determination. When he pulled back, his eyes blazed with intensity. You're not going to lose me. Know why? Because I love you. Not the perfect society fiancé or the mysterious bartender. You, Madison, Jennifer, whatever name you choose. I love your strength, your survival instinct, your brilliant mind, and I'm not letting you face him alone. Jennifer stared at him, her heart thundering in her chest. In that moment, she realized something that terrified her more than Victor ever could. She loved Nathan too, completely, irrevocably, which meant she had to protect him, no matter the cost. Okay, she whispered, letting her forehead rest against his. Together. She just prayed he would forgive her for the lie. Jennifer waited until Nathan was in the shower before she moved. The sound of running water masked her careful movements as she pulled a small case from the hidden compartment in her boot, a trick she'd learned during those terrifying weeks after David's death. Inside lay a syringe filled with clear liquid, a last resort she'd carried for 3 years, hoping she'd never need to use it. Her hands trembled as she lifted it, remembering David's words. It won't hurt him, Maddie. Just buy you enough time. I'm sorry, she whispered, approaching the room service cart where Nathan's coffee waited. One drop disappeared into the dark liquid, invisible but potent. The shower shut off. Jennifer quickly tucked the syringe away and resumed her position by the window, her heart hammering against her ribs. Everything in her screamed to stop, to trust Nathan, to face Victor together as they'd promised. But David's face flashed through her mind, his gentle smile in family photos, the way he'd protected her growing up, his broken body in that prison surveillance footage. She couldn't bear to see Nathan suffer the same fate. "Security teams in position around the bank," Nathan said as he emerged, dressed in a casual suit that couldn't quite hide his athletic build. He reached for his coffee. "They'll create a distraction at the main entrance while we—" He stopped, frowning slightly as he lowered the cup. "Jennifer!" She caught him as he swayed, guiding him to the couch. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, as his eyes widened with understanding. "I love you too much to watch him kill you." "No." Nathan fought to focus, his words slurring. "Together," promised. "I know." Jennifer blinked back tears as she smoothed his hair back from his forehead. "But some promises matter more than others. I promise you'll survive this." The last thing Nathan saw before consciousness slipped away was Jennifer's face, memorizing his features as if it was the last time she'd see them. Perhaps it was. 20 minutes later, Jennifer walked into Boston Trust and Savings through a side entrance, her heart encased in ice. She'd left Nathan in the secure hotel room, knowing his security team's standing orders would prevent them from moving against her directly. By the time they realized what she'd done, it would be too late. The bank's marble lobby echoed with her footsteps as she approached the safety deposit box area. Victor's men were easy to spot, too well-dressed for normal bank customers, too alert for casual observers. She counted 4, not including whatever backup waited outside. "And Miss Collins." The bank manager's smile was strained as she approached his desk. "Or should I say, Miss Hayes? Mr. Kane is already in the viewing room. He's quite eager to speak with you." Jennifer nodded once, letting him lead her through the secured doors. Each step felt like walking deeper into a trap, but she'd known that coming in. The trick wasn't avoiding the trap, it was making sure she was the only one caught in it. The viewing room was elegant but small, designed for privacy. Victor stood at a polished table, looking exactly as she remembered. Expensive suit, perfectly styled silver hair, smile like a shark scenting blood. Clara Bennett sat in a corner, her usual poise replaced by nervous tension. "Maddie," Victor's voice was warm, as if greeting a long-lost love. "You're looking well, though I preferred you as a blonde." "The evidence," Jennifer said flatly. "Where is it?" Victor patted the briefcase on the table. "Right here. Everything from your apartment's hiding place. Though I'm curious about what's in box 23/17, insurance policy, perhaps." "Let Clara go first." Jennifer's eyes met the other woman's. "She's served her purpose, hasn't she? Making Nathan follow me to Boston." "About that," Victor's smile sharpened. "Where is the gallant Mr. Blackwood? Surely you didn't come alone after my explicit warning." "Check the hotel security feeds," Jennifer replied steadily. "Nathan's unconscious in our room. I made sure he couldn't follow me." Clara gasped softly. Victor's eyebrows rose with genuine surprise. "Well, well," he studied Jennifer with new interest. "You really did learn from me, didn't you? Sacrificing love for survival. I taught you that? You taught me what happens to people I love." Jennifer's voice cracked slightly. "Now let Clara go and open the box. I assume you have the key from my apartment." Victor produced a small key with a flourish. "Miss Bennett, you may go. Your family's debts are considered paid." Clara stood on shaky legs, shooting Jennifer an unreadable look before hurrying out. The door closed behind her with a final-sounding click. "Shall we?" Victor gestured to the box that a nervous bank employee had brought in. Jennifer watched as he inserted the key. Inside lay a thick envelope and a USB drive. Victor's smile faltered as he examined them. "These are copies," he said flatly. "Where are the originals?" "Gone." Jennifer felt a cold satisfaction as anger flickered across his face. "And the moment you took the evidence from my apartment, dozens of email servers around the world received dead man switches. In 20 minutes, Everything goes public unless I stop it. Victor's mask of civility cracked. You're bluffing. Am I? David helped me set it up before you had him killed. He was always better with computers than you knew. The name hit Victor like a physical blow. His hand shot out, grabbing Jennifer's throat. Where are the originals? He snarled. Right where they've always been, Jennifer gasped. In plain sight. Understanding dawned in Victor's eyes just as shouts erupted from the bank lobby. The viewing room door burst open, revealing Nathan flanked by FBI agents. FBI! Everyone on the ground! Victor's grip tightened for a moment before he spun Jennifer around, using her as a shield. Back off! He shouted. Or she dies just like her brother. But Jennifer was smiling despite the arm crushing her windpipe. You never did check what else David gave me before he died, she wheezed. Like the recording of you ordering his murder. The one I gave to Nathan's father yesterday. Victor's grip faltered. The original evidence was never in my apartment, Jennifer continued. It's been in Richard Blackwood's private vault since the night of that first family dinner. All of it. That's why he started helping us, because he knew exactly what you'd done. Drop your weapon, Caney. Nathan's voice was cold. You've got the FBI, Boston PD, and enough private security to start a small war outside. It's over. Jennifer felt Victor's arm tremble with rage. For a moment, she thought he might snap her neck out of spite. Then Nathan spoke again, softer this time. Let her go, Victor. Choose survival, like you taught her to do. The words hit their mark. Victor's arm dropped, and Jennifer stumbled forward into Nathan's embrace as FBI agents swarmed the room. You're supposed to be unconscious, she mumbled against Nathan's chest. And you're supposed to trust me. His arms tightened around her. I've been building up an immunity to common sedatives since the first shooting attempt. A helpful trick in my line of work. Jennifer pulled back to stare at him. You knew I'd try something like this. I knew you'd try to protect me. Nathan's smile was tired, but real. Just like I knew you'd have a backup plan for your backup plan. It's one of the things I love about you. Behind them, Victor was being led away in handcuffs. His perfect composure finally shattered. This isn't over, Maddie, he shouted. You think you're safe with him. You'll never be safe. You'll never... The door closed on his threats. Jennifer sagged against Nathan, 3 years of fear and tension finally beginning to unfurl. Take me home, she whispered. Nathan kissed her temple softly. Which home? Your apartment or my penthouse? Jennifer closed her eyes, breathing in his presence. Wherever you are, she said simply. That's home now. They emerged from the bank into bright Boston sunlight. News cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but Jennifer barely noticed. She was too busy memorizing this feeling of safety, of victory, of love without fear, and of the future that was finally, incredibly, possible. The New York skyline glittered through the windows of Nathan's penthouse, city lights replacing the stars hidden by urban glare. Jennifer stood at the newly reinforced glass, warming her hands around a mug of tea as CNN played silently on the television behind her. The headline crawler told a story that still felt surreal. Boston legal giant Victor Kane indicted on multiple charges, including murder. 3 days had passed since their confrontation in Boston. 3 days of FBI interviews, press statements carefully crafted by Regina, and long conversations with Nathan about everything they'd kept hidden from each other. Your father's press conference went well, Jennifer said without turning as she heard Nathan's familiar footsteps approach. Very convincing, righteous indignation about discovering corruption in the legal system. Well, he's had practice. Nathan's arms slipped around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. Though I think he actually means it this time. Victor's actions threatened everything he's built. Dad doesn't forgive that kind of risk to the family legacy. Jennifer leaned back against him, remembering the subtle nod of approval Richard had given her during the press conference. And the Bennett merger, officially cancelled due to irreconcilable business differences. Clara's family is desperately trying to distance themselves from the scandal. Nathan's thumb traced idle patterns on her hip. Speaking of Clara, she sent a message through Regina. She wants to meet. Jennifer tensed slightly. Why? Apparently, she didn't know the full extent of Victor's plans. Being used as bait for a potential murder has made her reconsider some things. Nathan's voice held a hint of dry humor. She even offered to make a public statement supporting our relationship. How generous of her. Jennifer turned in his embrace to face him. And what does Regina think we should do? Regina thinks we should milk the Reformed Society princess angle for all it's worth. Nathan tucked a stray curl behind Jennifer's ear. I think it's your choice. Clara helped put you in danger, even if she didn't understand the full scope. Jennifer was quiet for a moment, thinking of the fear she'd seen in Clara's eyes in that bank viewing room. Let's meet her. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Nathan's smile was soft and proud. Even after everything, you still look for the good in people. I found it in you, didn't I? Jennifer reached up to trace his jaw. Speaking of good things, have you thought more about what you want to do now? Your father's offer to return to the company can wait. Nathan caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. I'm thinking of starting my own foundation. Something focused on helping abuse survivors rebuild their lives, establish new identities if needed. There's a lot of Madison Hayeses out there who need support. Jennifer's heart swelled. This was the man she'd fallen in love with, the one who took his pain and privilege and transformed them into something healing. I have a confession, she said softly. Remember that night at my apartment, when you brought Italian food? Nathan nodded, watching her face carefully. That's when I knew I was in love with you, really in love, not just acting. You brought comfort food and made me feel safe when everything was falling apart. She took a shaky breath. It terrified me. Why? Because the last time I loved someone that much was David, and loving him got him killed. Nathan gathered her closer, understanding darkening his eyes. Your brother died because of Victor's cruelty, not your love. Love doesn't make us weak, Jennifer. It makes us stronger. As if to prove his point, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn key. Jennifer recognized it immediately. My safety deposit box key. How did you... The FBI returned it this morning. Box 2317 is officially evidence-free and yours again. Nathan pressed the key into her hand. I thought you might want to decide what to do with it. Jennifer stared at the key, feeling the weight of the past 3 years in its metal teeth. Now, you know what's funny? I used to think of this key as my lifeline, the thing that would help me escape if Victor ever found me. Now. She moved to the fireplace, the same one where she'd once hidden evidence and emergency plans. This time, she knelt and pulled out a small wooden box Nathan had never seen before. David gave me this on my 16th birthday, she said, opening the box to reveal a collection of family photos and small mementos. I stopped looking at it after he died. It hurt too much. She placed the key inside and closed the lid. But I think it's time to start remembering the good things again. Nathan knelt beside her, understanding the significance of the moment. Does this mean Jennifer Collins is ready to have a past as well as a future? I'm ready to be whole, she said simply. No more hiding pieces of myself. No more running. She looked up at him with tears and starlight in her eyes. Think you can love all of me, Madison and Jennifer, scars and all. Nathan's answer was to pull her into a kiss that tasted of promise and healing and hope. When they finally parted, he rested his forehead against hers. I already do. Though I have to ask, what name do you want to use when we get married? Jennifer's breath caught. Nathan Blackwood, was that a proposal? He grinned, reaching into his other pocket to pull out a small velvet box. Well, technically we're already engaged, but I thought you might want to do it properly this time. No audience, no pretense, just us. Inside the box was a ring unlike anything a traditional Blackwood bride would wear. Instead of a massive diamond, it held a simple but elegant design, 2 intertwined bands, one silver and one gold, supporting a small constellation of sapphires that caught the city lights like captured stars. The 2 metals represent our different worlds coming together, Nathan explained softly. And the sapphires, Well, they reminded me of that first night at the plaza when you wore that blue uniform and changed my life forever. Jennifer felt tears spill down her cheeks as Nathan took her hand. Madison Jennifer Hayes, Collins, Blackwood, he said with a smile that held all the love in the world. Will you marry me? For real this time? Jennifer laughed through her tears. That's quite a mouthful of names. Good thing we have a lifetime for me to learn which one to use. She pulled him close, pouring all her answered prayers and healing wounds and newfound joy into a kiss that felt like coming home. Yes, she whispered against his lips, 1,000 times, in any name you choose. Yes. Outside their window, New York continued its eternal dance of light and shadow. But inside this space they'd created together, there were no more shadows to fear, only love and trust and the promise of tomorrow. 1 year later, the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom sparkled just as Jennifer remembered it, though everything else had changed. Tonight, she stood at the top of the marble staircase, not as a bartender in uniform, but as the keynote speaker for the Blackwood Foundation's first annual gala supporting survivors of domestic violence and trafficking. Ready? Nathan appeared at her side, handsome in his tuxedo but more relaxed than she'd ever seen him in formal wear. Marriage and purpose had softened his corporate edges, replacing them with something warmer and more genuine. Jennifer smoothed the silk of her midnight blue gown, the same shade as the uniform she'd worn that first night. Almost. Did Clara confirm she's coming? Already here. She's been cornering potential donors all evening. Nathan's smile held genuine appreciation. Who knew she'd be such an effective advocate for the foundation? Clara's transformation had surprised everyone. After publicly apologizing for her role in Victor's schemes, she'd thrown herself into supporting the foundation's work, using her social connections to open doors and change minds. Redemption, Jennifer had learned, came in many forms. And your parents? Mom's actually being civil to the scholarship recipients. I think helping abuse survivors rebuild their lives appeals to her sense of noblesse oblige. Nathan squeezed her hand. Dad's in rare form. Just use the phrase moral imperative without choking. Jennifer laughed, remembering how Richard Blackwood's attitude had shifted over the past year. Having his son's new foundation expose and prevent the kind of corruption that had nearly destroyed his empire had given him an unexpected passion for justice. Miss Hayes, a young woman, approached hesitantly, clutching a program. I'm sorry, Mrs. Blackwood. I wanted to thank you, your story, the foundation's help. It gave me courage to leave my situation. Jennifer's heart warmed as she recognized one of their first grant recipients. And how are the nursing classes going, Amy? I start clinical rotations next week. Amy's smile was shy but proud. I never thought I'd have a real future again. You always had it in you, Jennifer said softly. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us who we really are. After Amy left, Nathan pulled Jennifer close. You're amazing, you know that. Every life you touch, we touch, she corrected. This foundation is your vision too, inspired by you. Nathan kissed her temple. Speaking of inspiration, have you decided what you're going to say in your speech? Jennifer nodded, thinking of the notes tucked into her clutch. She'd rewritten them dozens of times, trying to capture the journey that had brought her here. The ballroom had filled while they talked, a mix of society figures and foundation beneficiaries creating a tapestry of hope and possibility. Regina caught Jennifer's eye from across the room and gave a subtle signal. It was time. Nathan squeezed her hand one last time before she approached the podium. The room fell silent, hundreds of eyes fixed on her face. 1 year ago, Jennifer began, her voice clear and strong, I stood in this very room wearing a borrowed name and a uniform, trying to disappear into the background. I was running from a past that haunted me, from a man who had tried to break my spirit, from the very idea that love could be anything but a weapon. She caught Nathan's gaze in the crowd, drawing strength from his presence. That night, fate, or perhaps just desperate impulse, brought me together with a man who would change everything. Not because he saved me, but because he showed me I was worth saving, worth loving, worth fighting for. Jennifer touched the scar on her collarbone, now worn proudly like a battle medal. The Blackwood Foundation exists because we believe every person deserves that reminder of their worth. Every survivor deserves a chance to reclaim their story, their name, their future. In our first year, we've helped over 200 individuals establish new identities, access education, find safe housing, and begin healing. She paused, emotion threading through her voice. But more than that, we've created a community, a family of survivors and allies who understand that our scars don't define us. They simply prove we're stronger than whatever tried to break us. The room was absolutely silent, hanging on her words. And tonight, I want to share a truth it took me years to learn. Running away isn't the same as starting over. Real freedom comes not from hiding who we are, but from finally having the courage to be seen, to be known, to be loved. Jennifer's hand drifted to her stomach, where the newest chapter of their story was just beginning to show. My brother David used to tell me that family isn't about blood. It's about who stands beside you when the storms come. Looking around this room, I see family, I see strength, I see hope. Her eyes found Nathan's again, seeing all their shared battles and victories reflected there. 1 year ago, I wore a borrowed name in this room. Tonight, I stand before you as all of my names, all of my selves. Madison Hayes, who survived, Jennifer Collins, who dared to dream, and Jennifer Blackwood, who finally learned that love isn't a weakness to fear, but a strength to embrace. The applause that followed was thunderous, but Jennifer barely heard it. She was already moving toward Nathan, drawn to him as always. He met her halfway, gathering her close. I love you, he whispered. All of you, every name, every story. Jennifer smiled against his shoulder, feeling their child flutter beneath her heart. I love you too. Thank you for teaching me how. Around them, the Foundation Gala continued, a celebration of endings and beginnings, of wounds healed and futures reclaimed. But in that moment, Jennifer and Nathan were back on that first night, when a desperate kiss had started them on this impossible journey. Only now there was no pretense, no fear, no running, only love and trust, and the beautiful certainty that some endings are really just better beginnings. Later that night, as they walked through their penthouse with its view of the glittering city, Jennifer paused by the fireplace. The wooden box still sat on the mantel, but it was no longer a repository of pain. Now it held treasures, David's photos, her old key, the uniform name tag from that first night, pressed flowers from their wedding. Thinking deep thoughts? Nathan asked, coming to stand beside her. Jennifer leaned into him, feeling the solid strength that had become her home, just grateful for every choice, every twist of fate that brought us here, even the scary parts, especially those. She turned to face him, taking his hands and placing them over her growing bump. They taught us how to fight for this, how to protect it, how to cherish it. Nathan's smile was tender as he felt their child move. Speaking of cherishing, have you decided what name you want to use for the baby if it's a girl? I was thinking Madison. Jennifer met his eyes, not to hide behind this time, to honor, to remember. Madison Blackwood. Nathan tested the name. I like it. Strong name for a strong girl, with a strong family to protect her. Jennifer stretched up to kiss him softly. Oh, Dan, to remind her that love is always stronger than fear. Outside their window, New York painted the night sky with endless possibilities. Inside, in the home they'd built from trust and courage and second chances, Jennifer and Nathan held each other close. Their story had begun with a desperate kiss and a borrowed name. It had survived bullets and betrayals, past wounds and present dangers. But in the end, it was simply this: two people who chose each other again and again, until choosing became as natural as breathing, until love became their truest name of all.
Thank you for listening to this story until the end. Hopefully every moment, Every detail in the story has brought you emotions, thoughts, and maybe a little joy or motivation. Thank you for spending time with us, and hope that the next stories will continue to accompany you and touch your heart.